r/ask Reddit. What fact is ignored generously? Being at a job for a long time does not mean someone is good at their job. Coworker of mine used to say there is 10 years of experience and then there is 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. I like that saying. A lot of people like to mention the 10,000 hours thing, but fail to mention that you have to be actively trying to learn and better yourself for the majority of those 10,000 hours. Human memory is extremely unreliable. We forget important details. We fabricate memories and convince ourselves that they're true. What we do remember is distorted to conform to our biases. When I was 5, my parents surprised my older sister and I with a trip to Disneyland really early in the morning before our flight. For years I had this memory of it happening and being so excited. They videotaped the whole thing, but we had lost the video for years. When we found it, I saw that I was actually asleep the whole time. I had completely made up the memory based on my sister and parents talking about it. Prevention is more affordable than treatment. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I hate you. And conversely, just because I agree with you doesn't mean I like you. Both of these points are excellent. Admitting to a mistake is not a sign of weakness. Bending over backwards to cover it up and pretending like it never happened is. It's in your best interests too. If you don't own your mistakes, others will and may use them against you. The number of people who die after a war to consequences of war, hunger, disease, etc. are not counted in the statistics. Talking for France here, some people who died between the 9th and the 11th of November 1918 were not counted as dead these days. Because that would be quite awful for a family to learn that your husband, brother/son, father died the last day before the war stopped. Humans overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what we can achieve in a year. You are not immune to propaganda. That we all have confirmation bias. In my studies I've found that I do not. Oh wait. I controlled for my confirmation bias. Turns out I have the smallest confirmation bias. No one has a smaller confirmation bias than I do in the entire academia. And people come up to me and tell me I am the most objective researcher and I write papers with the most logical conclusions and most rigorous models. No bias. They have the bias. But I have no bias. My bias level is tremendously non-existent. That just because someone tells you something is a fact doesn't mean that it is. Make sure to do your research. I'll take your word for it. Just because it's legally allowed doesn't mean you're not a douchebag for doing it. Everyone is a huge hypocrite when it suits them, including me. The irony of this statement is that if you're ever in a situation where being a hypocrite would suit you but you aren't a hypocrite, then you are a hypocrite because you said you would be but weren't. Just because some people are naturally talented doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. Hard work can beat talent when talent doesn't work hard, as my undergrad advisor was fond of saying. But when talent works hard, it's game over. The importance of getting 7-9 hours of sleep every single night. To add to this, 7-9 hours of sleep is not the same as a 7-9 hour sleep opportunity window. If you're giving yourself a 7-hour sleep opportunity window, you are not getting 7 hours of sleep, probably more like 6. Giving birth to a kid doesn't make you an expert on raising them, nor do they owe you for being born. A lot of people need to realize this. Way too many need to. Older doesn't always mean wiser. Wisdom is obtained from what you do with your time. It's not about how much time you've had. Just remember, stupid people get old too. Every single year, cruise ships dump 14 billion pounds of garbage into the oceans. Bill Burr's idea of sinking these sounds better and better. Animals are much more brutal than people realize. We only see the cute cuddly side on the internet. Cheetah makes friends with a goat, gets more views than warthog gets eaten alive by lions, and lasts a surprisingly long time while it's happening. Animals will eat you alive if they don't think you're threat to injury. It's out of survival. Something bigger and badder might come along and they won't have eaten anything. No, the leopard didn't kill the animal before eating it out of compassion. It just didn't want to take a hoof to the head while it was having lunch. You aren't supposed to stick Q-tips in your ears. You can't stop me. Concentration camps in China are still going on. France didn't stop executing people by guillotine until 1977. I ate an apple yesterday. Being well known doesn't always make you popular, as you may be well known for pissing yourself in class. Being rich doesn't mean you're great with money or someone who should be trusted with business decisions. Or smart. People love to assume that. Alcohol is poison. Experience is not equal to competence. Orcas and dolphins aren't happy in those aquatic parks. Baffled that this isn't intuitive or obvious to most people, the majestic and spacious ocean or a tiny tank surrounded by farty, loud creatures? You shouldn't have a child unless you are emotionally and financially ready and have a stable partner. Which means never for most people. And to a lesser degree, pets. If you can't afford to feed and take care of a dog, cat or whatever animal you want, you should not adopt said animal. Just because a movie or a book is good, doesn't mean you like it. Most people over 20 already met a murderer at least once in their lifetime. I dated a murderer before I was even 20, before he became a murderer, of course. The government is trying to pass an anti-encryption bill that could strip away any and all privacy given to US citizens. That science can't prove a negative. Show that vaccines don't give autism. We have never found that they do in the many studies done, but you can't have positive proof for something negative. If you edit your comment to add "thanks for the gold kind stranger," the kind stranger will probably never see that edit, but everybody else will, and will be annoyed. However, if you reply to the notification DM about the award, the kind stranger will see it for sure, and you would not bother anybody else. That colds and flu are caused by viruses, not by being cold or wet. Apparently, that you have to ducking stop at the big red sign that says stop in California. It's true, the California roll is a thing. Going to college university doesn't mean you are a genius. Adding to this, doing a trade or having a simple job in the workforce does not make you an idiot. Just because someone has served in the armed forces doesn't mean they deserve respect or are a good person. That nasty bacteria and such constantly enter our body, like when you smell that someone took a shit. Think about what you are inhaling at that moment. 5G does not cause COVID-19. Dogs and wolves are genetically 99.9% identical. You practically have a very well-mannered wolf sleeping at the foot of your bed every night. Bold of you to assume my wolf is well-mannered. That ball of fluff is the ultimate narcissist. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.